guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of Walk on Earth a Stranger by Rae Carson. I received a copy of this book at BEA this year, and this book is set to release on September 22nd. This is the first book in a YA historical fiction fantasy series. It's going to be a trilogy, and this is about Leah, and she is a girl who can sense gold in the earth, and this is happening during the gold rush period in the United States. So some events happen that end up making her having to flee from her home in Georgia over to California during the gold rush and take the trek across country in a time that is very dangerous, and is very dangerous especially for her, somebody who can sense gold, and if people find out about this power that she has, they're going to use her for their different means. So there's obviously a lot more going on than that, but that is the very basic premise of this story. First, let me talk about the world building in this book. The world building is fantastic. Rae Carson is extraordinary at world building. I loved her first series, the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy, and the world building in there is also spectacular, so I knew going into this that it was going to be fantastic. She has such a way of slowly weaving things in and different events and different circumstances and the way the culture is and everything else to just make it a fully fleshed out world. Even though this is based in historical fact, you just really get the sense that she's not just writing on that she really does show you how everything is. If you guys ever played the Oregon Trail video games back in like grade school and stuff, I love those games, so those like survivalist type games, and you really get a sense of that, of the desperation that's happening during this time, of the fear as far as these kinds of journeys, and about all the dangers that are in place, because the journey is not an easy one, and the characters definitely do not coast through it by any means, and it's a very treacherous situation. So we get a sense of that throughout. So you get that general tension of how the country felt during that time in this like gold rush anxious period, trying to get across the country in a very dangerous situation, and you just feel that kind of anxiety throughout. So next, let me talk about the characters. Leah is an amazing character. She is a great realistic character because she is described as plain, which I actually really enjoy. The Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy, the main character in there is a bigger girl, and that deals with a lot of like body issues, and in here again we have a realistic heroine. She is not some great beauty or anything like that. She is normal, she is average, and she has a special ability, but not everyone knows about that, so she is just kind of running through life as a normal person. There's also a lot of really awesome gender discussion throughout this book revolving around Leah, because throughout part of the book she ends up dressing as a boy because it's safer for her. She's kind of on the run from things and she's dressing as a man. So we have this kind of discussion of her being like, what am I worth as a woman? What am I worth as a man? And should I stay kind of dressing as a man, or should I become a woman again when I get to California? And what am I allowed to do? What am I allowed to work for? And these things are kind of brought up constantly as like, these are things that I couldn't do as a woman, but these are things that I can't do as a man, and all these kinds of things. And you also have her sense of worth too, kind of tied in with her gold sensing ability. And so throughout the journey we have her kind of coming to terms with the fact that like, is gold the only thing she's good for, or can she do other things? And all these kinds of things with like identity and confidence and gender and everything is all kind of tied up in Leah's character, and I loved it. Also, as far as the love interest, we have kind of a pre-page 1 love interest. There is no love triangle in this story as far as in book 1, so if you guys are not into love triangles, you do not have to worry about that. That is not a thing in here. And the love interest is definitely going to be a slow burn kind of love interest. Rae Carson, again, first trilogy had a slow burn, and this one looks like it's setting up for a slow burn as well. They have been friends for the majority of their life, and they are familiar with each other, and we have kind of that background, so it's not like you're having any kind of insta-love or anything, and there's not even love within this book. I would say it's definitely going to be a slow burn, but we have a lot of discussion also with that character because he is part Native American, so we have this race discussion. Native Americans are not erased at all within this story. I know that's a problem a lot within Westerns, is that Native Americans will be erased from the history when you're having historical fiction, and that's not a problem in here. It's definitely something that's discussed, especially through his character and how people are treating him and his character, how people are treating actual Native Americans that are full-blooded Native Americans that you're seeing throughout the landscape. They are definitely a part of the story, and they are present, and I really enjoyed that as well. Then as far as the side characters, we have all those side characters being slowly fleshed out. There are a lot of people that Leah encounters throughout her journey, and the characters kind of change around, and some stay the same, and some kind of come in and out of the story and things like that, and some are only there temporarily, but all the characters do get fleshed out slowly. Again, it's kind of like a slow build. At the beginning you're like, oh, these characters seem just like a little one-dimensional, and then slowly you will get all these different things about them, and they form into fully formed characters, and that's really awesome. So throughout the story you become very attached to the different characters that she is on this journey with, and I really enjoyed that. Particularly, there's a lot of focus on female friendships. Again, can you tell this book is just ticking all of my boxes? So there's a lot of focus on female relationships and female friendships and what that means during this time, and females kind of banding together, and also family and family banding together, and what family means, and is that your friends as your family or is it not, and all these kinds of things. So it was just an amazing discussion on like female relationships and friendships and family, and I absolutely loved it. The only character problem I did have is that the main villain in here is kind of a mustache twirling villain. I'm not really sure his point right now. I just feel that he is very flat. I think that he will develop more as the series goes on, but right now he feels a little bit too twirling mustache, and I don't really know why he is the way he is at all. So I'm interested to see him being a little more fleshed out in the future. As far as the plot, I really enjoy the pacing of this. The first 50 or so pages might be a little slow to some people. I was okay with it because it was kind of world building and setting everything up, but it could be a little slow at first, but then once you really start going on the journey and stuff, everything kind of takes off. And it feels, again, realistic. The pacing is normal for what you would expect. It's a long journey. It's very treacherous. A lot of things happen. And it's not easy, and there's a lot of really bad things that pop up along there, so you get to experience those, and it doesn't feel rushed in any way, and I really enjoyed that. The only thing that I didn't like was towards the end. The ending was a little bit rushed, and I felt like we were one place and all of a sudden we were another, and that we didn't get to see a lot of that in between, so that I wouldn't really like. But also I feel like the ending wrapped up really well for a first book. I didn't really feel like we were left on a complete cliffhanger. Do I want book 2? Absolutely. I want it as soon as possible, but I don't feel like that desperate need to have it in my hands immediately, which I really enjoyed having that wrap up kind of nicely so we can breathe while we wait for the second book. I also really enjoyed that the fantasy elements weren't very in your face in this book. The historical fiction elements are the biggest part in this book. So if you're a little hesitant, you're not really sure how you feel, maybe you're just dipping your toes into fantasy right now, I think this is a perfect way to start because the fantasy elements aren't in your face. The whole world isn't magical from what we've seen by any means, and her powers are not the main focus. The main focus is on a lot of other things, the journey, the friendships, everything else. So it's not all about the magic in this. It's about kind of the history and the struggles and everything else. So I really enjoy that element of this. So overall, I really end up enjoying this first installment. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the series. I think all of our characters are going to grow so much. They grew a ton in this first book, and I think they're going to continue to grow throughout the rest of the series, and I cannot wait for the rest of the journey. I gave Walk on Earth a Stranger 4.5 out of 5 stars. So I'm also going to be doing a spoilery gush video on this, so once you have read the book, go ahead and check that out. It'll be linked down below. So comment down below, let me know if you have read Walk on Earth a Stranger and what you thought of it, or if you plan on reading it, and also if you have any kind of historical fictions that are on this time period that you think I would enjoy, because I do love reading about this time period. So are there any recommendations for that? Comment down below and let me know. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all guys soon. Bye!